10-1 work together. Classic Appliances uses an accounts receivable ledger. On the blank ledger page above, locations have been identified with letters. To open a new customer account, indicate the location of each of the following items. The customer is Venice Cafe, the account number is 120, and the balance on September 1st of the current year is $390.34. So we did this very similar thing when we are doing in Chapter 9. It's just Chapter 9, we are looking at the accounts payable ledger. So same thing except now accounts receivable. So let's start. I think what we're going to do, I would rather start with A and find what we're going to put in letter A. So letter A is going to be the account, but actually this should be customer. So that is going to be Venice Cafe. That's what we would put at A. Then this, the account number or the customer number. And in the directions, it tells us that that's going to be 120. So here's our account number 120. That's going to be B. C is where we're going to write the date, and the date we're using is September 1st. Oops. D for item, that's what we're going to put as balance. Remember, we're labeling that. It's not posting, we're actually labeling it as the balance. For letter E, we're simply going to put a check mark there. Again, we don't have a journal page because we're not posting. We're simply putting in our total or our balance. So we don't have a debit. So F is going to be blank. I'm going to put that here because we have two blanks. G is also going to be blank. So I'm going to put that here as well. And then our last one is going to be our balance. So H is going to be our balance of that $390.34. Next now, it says using the current year, journalize the following transactions on page 9 of the sales journal for Classic Appliances. The sales invoice source document is abbreviated as S. Classic Appliances operates in a state with a 6% sales tax. No S is needed in the sale number column of the sales journal. So we have 4 transactions now that we're going to record. On September 2nd, we sold merchandise on account to Lenny Sanford, $1,600 plus sales tax, sales invoice $222. Now, they only give us one journal here, so that makes it easy. Remember, we have 2 hints that will help us decide that we would go into our sales journal. First is we see our source document is a sales invoice. That tells us it's going to go into our sales journal. Second thing is the wording here. It says what happened. We sold merchandise on account. Anytime we sell merchandise on account, it goes into our sales journal. So I'm going to start with my date, September 3rd. And first I'm going to put in the customer that we sold to, so Lenny Sanford. And then I'm going to put in how much we sold. Well, actually, I'm going to go to sales credit. And so I'm going to put our total amount of merchandise that we sold, so $1,600. Next, I need to find out my sales tax. Now, the directions in the lecture, they actually gave us our sales tax in that transaction. Here, they just tell us that we have sales tax. So we need to look up here. It does tell us in the directions that we had a 6% sales tax. So we're going to take 1,600 times 6%. And that gives us sales tax of $96. Okay, now we're going to add those 2 numbers together. That then is going to give us our accounts receivable. So the total amount that they owe us is $1,696. Last thing is we're going to put in our invoice number of 221. Okay, now we have 1 debit and 2 credits, so it's really important that we're double checking and making sure that our debits equal our credits. Next one, the 6th. We sold merchandise on account to Washington City Schools, $680. Washington City Schools is exempt from sales taxes. Sales invoice $222. So this is a great, sometimes we're going to have businesses that do not have to pay sales tax. So when we think of Washington City Schools, that would be a public school. So government-wise, they're not going to be charged sales tax. Okay? So who we're selling to? We're selling to Washington City Schools. Okay, we're going to put in our sales credit of $680. That's how much merchandise we sold to them. There was no sales tax, so what they owe us is simply $680. Last thing is our sales invoice number of $222. Okay, next we have the 7th. We sold merchandise on account to Venice Cafe, $2,560 plus sales tax, sales invoice $223. So again, first I'm going to put in who we sold merchandise to, Venice Cafe. Then I'm going to move to my sales credit and I'm going to put in how much merchandise we sold. So we sold $2,560 worth. Then I need to figure out my sales tax. So again, I'm going to take that sales credit of $2,560 times 6%. That gives me $153.60 in taxes. I'm going to add those two numbers together. The total amount that Venice Cafe owes me then is $2,713.60. Sales invoice number 223. Again, make sure that your debits equal your credits. And on our last one, the 15th, we sold merchandise on account to Washington City Schools, $1,849. Sales invoice 224. Now, when we look at this one, they don't tell us again that they are exempt from sales tax, but it's inferring it because we already dealt with Washington City Schools, so we have no sales tax again. So again, I'm going to put the customer that owes me money, Washington City Schools. I'm going to put how much merchandise I sold, $1,849 worth. And there's no sales tax, so they simply owe us $1,849. And then the last thing is that sales invoice number of 224. Okay, debits equal credits. I'm going to check my answer. Oh, and I accidentally wrote in the wrong date, so hopefully you caught that as I was going through. I accidentally wrote in the 3rd instead of the 2nd, so just another reason to double check your work as you're going through. Save and continue. You can now move on to the on your own and then move on to 10-2 lecture.